There are a number of external pressures that are causing organizations to rush into digital transformations, but it's not always the right time to go through a digital transformation. So what I want to do today is talk about whether or not you really need to change and go through a transformation right now. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world reach their third stage of digital transformation success. And when we're working with our global client base, we find that many of them are facing a great amount of pressure to go through a digital transformation and to go through a digital transformation now. You have software vendors and sales reps that are pressuring you to buy new technologies. You have industry analysts that are telling you that if you don't go through a digital transformation now, you're going to die as an organization. And at the same time, technology is changing at a very rapid pace. So all these external pressures are putting a lot of pressure on organizations to go through digital transformations now, but it's not always the right time to go through transformation now, or at the very least, it's not always the right time to go through a comprehensive digital transformation now. So what I want to discuss today are the things to think about and consider as you define the digital strategy that makes the most sense for you in helping define and determine whether or not a digital transformation is right for you right now. The first thing that you have to think about as an organization is the pace of change within the technology space. So technology is advancing at a very rapid pace. There's constantly new capabilities and workflows being developed within technologies. There's completely new emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and robotic process automation, just to name a couple. So there's all these different technologies that are evolving and providing new capabilities and opportunities for you to improve your business. So that's one thing you have to look at is where are you today with your technological landscape and your internal capabilities, and where could you be if you had more modern technology? And at some point, most organizations find that that gap becomes so large that they need to make the change, or they at least feel like there's a strategic reason to do so. The other thing that organizations are facing in terms of technological change is the fact that so many enterprise technology providers are sunsetting and decommissioning their legacy systems. So you have systems like SAP R3 and ECC, or PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, Microsoft Great Plains. Those are just a few examples of some of the software products that are being sunset and decommissioned in the coming years. And it's not just that software vendors are officially stating that their products are being decommissioned. It's also that even if they're supporting their products longer term and they say that they're going to support their products longer term, they have newer products that they're putting more R&D dollars into. So those technologies are emerging and developing at a faster pace than the older legacy systems. So regardless of the cause, you have these technological landscape shifts that are creating the need or the opportunity to change and go through a digital transformation. So the question then becomes, is that enough of a reason for us to go through a digital transformation? And that's what I'm going to continue to discuss here as we talk about the next few points. In addition to the technological landscape changing, it's also important to look at your digital strategy and the alignment of your digital strategy with your overall corporate strategy, your organizational goals and objectives. So if you find that your current enterprise technologies support your corporate goals and objectives, then now may not be the ideal time to go through a digital transformation. But if you find that there's a lot of gaps in your digital strategy, your overall organizational strategy, and the actual technologies you have today, then now may be a good time to start your digital transformation. So the important thing here is to assess and determine your interest and tolerance for a digital transformation now through the lens of your overall organizational strategy, goals, and objectives, and ensuring that whatever it is you do, whether you do or don't move forward with the digital transformation, you want to make sure that it's supporting those longer-term goals and objectives rather than just investing in new technology for investing in new technology's sake. Any sort of digital transformation entails a significant amount of risk and change to an organization. You're going to have operational changes, you're going to have impacts to people's jobs, you're going to have new job skills and requirements you're going to need, you're certainly going to have technological and integration challenges you've got to deal with. So there's a lot of internal impact that a digital transformation is going to have on your organization. There's a whole plethora of a variety of changes that will impact your organization. So it's important to recognize that there's a risk that comes along with that. And it's important to assess the risk in terms of how big the changes are, how big of a shift is this going to be? How hard is it going to be? How difficult is it going to be for your organization to adapt to these new technologies? And that answer to that question is going to vary for different parts of your organization. For example, you may find that your finance team is chomping at the bit, very excited about new technologies because they have such dated technologies at the moment. But you might find that your sales organization has a world-class CRM system in place already, and they might resist the change. You might have manufacturing or warehouse types of people that are operating manually, so any sort of digital technologies implemented in their jobs is going to entail a pretty massive change for them. So you need to understand the magnitude of the change and then assess the risk of that change and determine ultimately, is it worth the risk? And if the answer is yes, it is worth the risk, then we've got to figure out how we're going to manage that change and mitigate those risks along the way. So unless we've done that, it's hard for us to answer the question of whether or not we should go through a digital transformation now. And what I would say is if you're not ready to address these risks and to mitigate these risks, then now is probably not the right time to go through a digital transformation. If you do land on the side of going through some sort of digital transformation, it's important to recognize that change management will be absolutely critical to your success. Even if you're going through a relatively incremental sort of transformation, and certainly if you're going through a massive quantum leap of a change within your transformation, change management is going to be the key to whether or not you succeed. So whatever you do, make sure that you adequately and completely address organizational change management. Make sure you have the right change strategies in place that make the most sense for your organization. And make sure that you invest heavily in this space to augment the investments you might make in new technologies. And for more best practices on how to do that and how to leverage change strategies and change management best practices, I encourage you to download our Guide to Organizational Change Management, which provides a number of best practices and tips that you can use to make your digital transformation successful from a human perspective. At the end of the day, none of this is an all or nothing proposition. It's not necessarily that you need to either do nothing or go through a massive digital transformation. It might be that you land somewhere in between. You take more of an incremental, lower risk approach. Now, software vendors will certainly tell you, and they would love if you went through a massive transformation and just bought tons of software from them because they're going to make more money. So you have to recognize that bias for what it is and set that aside and do what's best for you as an organization. And once you understand the magnitude of change, the risk of change, the level of alignment with your overall organizational goals and objectives, and some of the other things I've talked about in this discussion, once you've done all that, then you need to define what is the timeline that makes the most sense for us as an organization. Even if you've committed to say, an incremental transformation and you're going to have a fairly narrow scope of new technologies and process improvements you're rolling out, chances are there's going to be pressure for you to go through that implementation very quickly, because the faster you can go through that implementation, the sooner the software vendors and consultants are going to make money. And so you have to resist that temptation and back up and say, is that the right pace for us? And if not, what is the right pace for us? And let's define that pace that makes the most sense for us. So whether or not you need to go through change now, whether or not the change needs to be significant, whether or not you need to go through the change quickly and fast, that's all up to you. And you ultimately need to make sure you have alignment internally that aligns with your overall strategic goals and objectives. For more digital transformation best practices, I encourage you to download our digital transformation report. It's an annual report we publish each year that talks about some of the best practices for digital transformations. It provides technology agnostic reviews and rankings of different types of technologies in the marketplace. I encourage you to check that out. You can download that with the link I've included below. I've also included links to other digital transformation resources that I think will help you through your journey, so please check that out as well. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day.